It's more than 4 weeks the Academic Staff Union of Universities embarked on an industrial action. Though the federal government has met with the union at 3 different fora, the students are yet to get the lecturers back in the classroom. I am Sharon Ijason. Welcome to Labour Lens. The conversation continues in a moment.
The Nigerian Employers Consultative Association, NECA, has stated that most government agencies and policies do not support businesses. NECA said there were too many regulations by the agencies. Its outgoing Director General, Olusegun Oshinowo, made this known during his farewell briefing at NECA's head office in Lagos. NECA DG said the agencies were not supposed to be killers of business, rather, they are supposed to be supporters of businesses.
We, as the voice of business, still believe in free market enterprise. Whatever policy that government is going to bring up, let it be in support of free market enterprise. Secondly, there has been over-regulation of this economy on account of the existence of so many government regulatory bodies that are really not contributing meaningfully to the economy. Instead, they are destroying businesses. Those agencies see themselves more as revenue-generating organizations rather than business-supportive agencies.
The Colleges of Education Academic Staff Union, COASU, has suspended its over 2-month-old strike. COASU National President Lou Ogrima disclosed this while briefing journalists after its expanded National Executive Council meeting in Abuja. The suspension follows reassurances from government to meet some of the workers' key demands and implementation of agreements. The union had embarked on strike on the 9th of October over non-implementation of agreements, especially needs assessment reports.
Expanded National Executive Council saw the need to have the strike suspended, giving government a little time till January 29, when we shall reconvene again to assess whatever progress we may have got between now and then, because we are expecting that perhaps most of these issues would have been concluded. Then on the amendment of the laws of Federal Colleges of Education and that of the National Commission for Colleges of Education, as I speak with you, the National Assembly has that law.
Okay, government have given us some promises. We have seen level of commitment on the part of the government, and we just want to give them that benefit of the doubt. And I expect government to also respect, our position. So, to a large extent, I want to believe that a reasonable government will not want to do otherwise. They want to also consider respect us. I won't give them the respect, but giving them this window of opportunity to actually prove and really do the needful.
It's almost a week that the Academic Staff Union of Universities embarked on an industrial action. A visit to the Lagos State University, Ojo, few students were seen loitering around on campus with little or no activity. The ASU Secretariat LASU chapter was devoid of activities, as they also confirmed receiving a circular from the national body. The lecture halls were empty, while some had students who sat idle discussing the strike. The ASU Secretary of Lagos State University says they complied with the strike directive from the national body and are ready to go the full haul.
From that Monday, Tuesday after our Congress, 100% compliance. You won't get to any class and then see any lecturer lecturing. We went around, the strike monitoring committee went around on Tuesday. We went round on Wednesday, we went round Thursday. We've been out this morning again to check through all the classes.
Some of the demands by ASU are funding for revitalization of public universities, reconstruction of the current government team of the FGN ASU renegotiating team, release of the forensic audit report on earned academic allowances, payment of all arrears of shortfalls in salaries, provision of a platform by the federal government for ASU to engage governors on the proliferation of universities, and the release of PFA operational license to NEPENCO. During an interaction with some students I met on campus, they urged the federal government to listen to the demands of the lecturers.
It's very sad because normally now we are supposed to be in classes receiving lectures, but if you look around, you see students roaming about doing nothing. Most of them are at home.
It's quite unfortunate that at this time of our journey, that ASU could actually be going to strike on needs that we believe the federal governments are more than capable of meeting.
We are the ones working directly with the students, and we know the challenges we're facing. And if we fail to alert the nation about our challenges so that we can provide quality education to our citizens, then we're failing in our responsibility. As academics, we have more responsibilities than the ordinary citizens. We have that challenge of educating our own populace so that they can understand the way forward in terms of developing our nation by providing quality training to our citizens.
What Nigerian education system needs is a revolution. But if you demand less than a revolution and you say it should be reformed in ways in which, one, majority of Nigerian children will have education, and the quality of education will be good, and the education that we are getting will be not just relevant but adequate to resolving the problems of economy, education, politics, and so on.
On the Profile interview segment this week, I will be speaking with the president of the Academic Staff Union of Universities. He will be shedding light on why ASU is still on strike despite several meetings with the federal government. Take a listen. It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here.
It's more than a month that the Academic Staff Union of Universities actually embarked on an industrial action.
Yes.
And the federal government has met with you for up to 3 times. Yes. Can you tell us why the union is yet to call off the strike?
The union is here to call off the strike because government has not brought some concrete proposals to the table. We have 4 issues that we are tracking from our Memorandum of Action of 2017. In all of these 4 areas, starting with Revitalization Fund, talking about the end academic allowances, the shortfall in salary of our members, and of course, the issue of state governors and state universities. Those 4 areas, government has not brought up concrete proposals, although we are beginning to talk about the issues. The issues have been opened up, and government is now promising to get us some concrete ideas on how to resolve the problem. But as we speak, no concrete proposal has been brought, no decision has been taken. And we, as leaders of the union, cannot go back to our members until we have something concrete to present to them.
So now, can you share with us what the pulse of your members are, especially when it comes to the government's no work, no pay policy?
Our members are not shaken, really. They are not bothered about that policy because it's not new to them. We know that since the military era, government has always come up with this threat that, well, if you stop working, your salary will be stopped. And they might even go further to say, we'll bring out the register to know those who are still ready to work. They've tried that over and over again. Our members have seen the futility because, for one, our members believe that what we are doing is a patriotic duty. If ASU keeps silent over critical issues of the rot and decay in university education in Nigeria, then it means Nigeria has no future. So what we have always said is that Nigerians should also join our struggle in order to reposition our universities. And we can only do that by getting government to listen to our demands, because our demands are genuine. In 2012, government went out to carry out what they called needs assessment exercise. And it was as a result of that they came to this amount we now call revitalization fund. So revitalization fund of 1.3 trillion was what government promised after that needs assessment exercise. Government has only released one tranche out of 6 in 2013. From 2013 till now, because of government's lukewarm attitude, we have a total of 1.1 trillion pending. If Nigerians can work with us, we can reposition our universities to take them back to place of prominence, place of reckoning, and a place of competitiveness where our university education was in the 60s and 70s. So that is why our members are not bothered. They know what they are doing really is in fact one of their duties, because our work is in 3 parts: teaching, research, and community service. Our advocacy for repositioning of university education from reversing the declining fortunes, so that we don't go the way of public primary schools, public secondary schools. Our members see that duty as part of our duty to the community service. And that is why we'll continue to intensify our advocacy for restoration, for repositioning, and of course, revitalization of universities. So our members cannot be bothered.
When you talk about revitalization of the universities, especially when it comes to funds and when a particular figure is brought on the table, the perception many Nigerians have is that federal government is giving money to ASU as a body. Can you enlighten Nigerians on this?
It's a totally wrong perception. I hinted earlier that in 2012, the federal government set up a committee that went around public universities in Nigeria. A total of 73, 74 universities were visited in order to see or verify the claims that ASU made. You know, this our engagement with government dates back to late 70s, early 80s. In fact, the first agreement we signed with government was in 1982. That was with Shagari government. And what led to that was that as from the late 70s, while government created more universities in the 70s, government did not increase the proportion of funding at the same rate. And so the fortunes of public universities nosedived. And we started to see the reverse. You know, even up to the early 80s, students were coming from Egypt, Ghana, South Africa, other parts of Africa to study in Nigerian universities. But today, the 3 countries that are patronized by Nigerian students are Egypt, South Africa, and Ghana. So you can see it's a total reversal. So when we talk of money being given to ASU, it's not given to ASU. ASU is not a spending agency of government. ASU, we can call ASU a pressure group to make government do what government is expected to do. And we are doing that, like I said earlier, because of our concern for the fortunes of our nation. If academics keep quiet, who else will talk for the society? So we see ourselves as those who should be the intellectual vanguards, those who should be the voice of the society. Our research tells us that things are not the way they are, or they were before now. And if we want to reposition our university system, ASU must be at the forefront. So the monies we are talking about, I talked of 1.1 trillion, came out of the verification exercise when government set up a national committee and there were teams that were sent to public universities. I led a team to some universities, including a first generation university. In that first generation university, can you imagine, we saw that kerosene stoves were being used in place of Bunsen burners. We saw that buckets were being used to fetch water to the laboratories. So we saw that there were empty racks in the library. And so what kind of research can come out of that environment? And that was a first generation university. In fact, when we visited their mechanical engineering workshop, we saw an equipment there which was bought in 1965. So what can you do with an equipment of 1965 in 2018? So it means that we are just doing what we can call theories of practical. We are actually not giving the practical knowledge, the hands-on experience that go, or experiences that go with training and learning, creation of knowledge, we no longer promote. And if we keep quiet, we'll not be able to raise our heads when we meet our peers elsewhere. So the monies we are talking about are given to universities. There are committees that are set up in each universities to manage that. The governing councils of each university is always at the head of the procedure for spending the money. So ASU does not spend monies released to the universities. The university administration, governing councils, they handle the money. So no money has been given to ASU, but ASU believes that they have the historical commitment or historical challenge to push the case for the restoration.
Moving forward and also taking us back to the no work, no pay policy by the federal government and looking at the fact that we have so many states that are owing workers salaries as much as 12 months, as much as 24 months. How would you marry both?
The difference here is that this issue of no work, no pay, it is not assumed that the money is not there. The money is there.
I'm more concerned about unpaid salaries in so many states in the country.
Okay, these unpaid salaries, it boils down to the issue of political will that we always talk about. Any government that sees the workers' issues as their priorities, they will not do that. But Nigerian politicians, they are notorious for serving their own interests. So they are self-serving, and they don't see workers' welfare as #1 priority. And that is why when they don't pay workers, they don't stop their own security votes. They don't stop paying their retinue of assistants. They don't stop paying their contractors, you know. And you even see some, they will go into grandiose projects, all in the name of providing infrastructure. So what they see as priority, education too is not their priority. And that is why you can see that many state governors, they are not accessing the UBEC fund where they are required to bring the counterpart funding. So it's about priorities. The priorities for them are projects that will bring returns. Workers' pay, workers' salaries are not part of that. Education funding cannot give that.
My concern again is from my findings here in the paper that you presented as some of the issues you have with the federal government is the issue of NUPEMCO and pension matters. Can you share with us what the experience of probably a retiring or retired lecturer is in terms of accessing his pension funds, even after working for maybe 30, 20 years? Could you tell us the story of a lecturer or an average lecturer that's retired and is yet to access his pension?
Okay. We proposed that NUPEMCO as part of our 2009 agreement with federal government. given the experience and the stories that we have had about the plight of retirees in Nigeria, the way they treat retired senior citizens, retired workers in Nigeria who we call senior citizens. Specifically, university lecturers have reported to us, some of our senior colleagues have reported to us some of the underhand dealings in many of the existing pension fund administrators, those we call PFAs. They do not get regular information about their contributions, and when they retire to the issue of arrangement for paying them their pension and gratuity has always been tasking. And so ASU came up with this idea because we believe if we have our own pension fund administrator, the union will be there on the board. The union will be able to prevent underhand dealings. The union will be able to forestall any situation that could lead to frustration and sudden death, because we have had it among other workers in the country. We think after serving Nigeria diligently as a researcher, as a scholar, our members should be allowed to enjoy their old age. So we went into it and we are pushing it because we have seen the experiences of others in the industry. Members who retired before now have brought reports to us about the kind of ill treatment. And in fact, many of them are waiting for NUPECO to come on board so that they can just transfer their accounts to the union, to the union's PFAs. Of course, we are not the only body that will run the PFA. Other staff unions on the campus are part of it, but for now, we are the ones driving the process, and we believe that it's going to stand out from the pack.
Over the years, ASU has actually made several comments as regards state governors actually establishing new state universities for political reasons and thereby leaving the old ones to suffer. Is this part of the negotiation that you're actually having with the federal government?
Yes, it's part of our demands. Proliferation of universities. Proliferation of universities has become a trend in the country, and Nigerian politicians are gradually turning the establishment of universities into constituency projects. If you are a state governor today and you find that the existing university is in another geopolitical zone other than yours, you take steps either to create a campus of it. I mean, that used to be the trend, but now they don't even talk of the campus of it. They bring it, they establish new university. They just call it another name. They can call it University of Science and Technology, but all courses will be run there. So which means it's pretense. But that trend, that tendency to proliferate is not limited to state governors. And in fact, we say that it appears state governors are borrowing leaves from the federal government. You recall that the last federal government, the administration of Dr. Goodluck Jonathan, in one day created 9 universities. And those universities, today, they are crying seriously for survival. So that is what proliferation could do. And probably somebody just discovered that, no, we don't have a university in my village. So let there be a university in my village. And in order to justify the one that I will create in my village, maybe we should spread the largesse. So that happens at the level of federal government. In fact, it was reported in the news this week that the federal government was planning to establish 80 new tertiary institutions, including 23 universities. And from what we are hearing, some of these universities will be located in the domains of political leaders, and which means that these are our suspicion about constituency projects. is becoming a reality. And we fear for this country. State governments, federal government are not funding the existing universities. They are busy creating other ones. And at the end of the day, it's like they will give back to children that they don't have the capacity to nurture. And so Kwashiorkor may just descend on everybody, and we shall all be afflicted, and Nigeria will reap the consequences. So that is our fear for this country. And that is why you see us talking passionately about the future of university education. Because university education holds the ace for the transformation of the country.
So finally, would you say that strike is the only language that the government can understand, and is it the only solution to ensuring that the demands that you've listed out are actually met?
It appears so. It appears so when you are dealing with people that are not selfless. If, like I said, they are self-enlightened group, they will know that it is in their own interest to make education affordable, to provide quality education, to improve quality of life of the generality of Nigerians, so that they too, what they have stolen, they can enjoy in peace. At least they pass the crumbs. But here, they want to take everything. And unless you wake up and shout, they will beat you and they will not want you to cry. So they are beating us by denying us what is due to us. They are by denying Nigerians the quality education they deserve. What the Constitution says. The Constitution says you should provide education at all levels, free. But they added a caveat as and when practicable. It will never be practicable if Nigerians don't force it on them. If you don't force them to make it practicable, they will not make it practicable. And that is why we always call on Nigerians that don't sleep on your right. If you sleep on your right, nobody will wake you up.
It was an interesting conversation with you.
Thank you, it's my pleasure.
And that's all we can take on today's edition of the program. Join us next week for a fresh edition of the show. I am Sharon Ijason. Thanks for watching, and remember, labor creates wealth.